Good evening, Fernwood. It is your TV pal Neil, and it's time for some more late night variety madness with another episode of Fernwood Tonight. If you're just seeing my face for the first time, we are going to watch Fernwood Tonight together, and then we will chat about it. If that sounds like it's your bag, then stick around. We're watching today episode 12 from July 19th, 1977. Yesterday went into some absurdity, so let us please look back. Barth Gimble announced that he would be partnering with Ruth Dunbar in her attempt to start a talent agency, which at this point is mainly her daughter's. Then we launch another rocket to stardom with young Kevin McCormick, who comes on to perform some trombone and then gets into some back and forth with Barth. Tennis pro Harold Clemens arrives to tell us about his new development in power tennis for the blind. Then Happy Kind drops down to tell us about his efforts volunteering at the local orphanage. Then we bring in guest Lillian Lattimore, who is there to tell us about her new development in weight loss, that is diet prisons. We end the episode with a public service announcement. Since California is having droughts, Barth introduces a plan to help out that state in need. If local Fernwood folks could donate water, Barth will personally drive it into the Golden State. Everyone, as I mentioned, things got some whack-a-sillies, so let us step forward.
From Fernwood Tonight, coming to you live with your host for tonight, Mr. Barth Gimble. Tonight, Barth's guest will be Grandmother Dunbar and her big wind instrument. The Dunbar daughters with their salute to our president. Special guest star, Mr. James Earl Carter, and Happy Kind and the Mirth Makers. And me, I'm Jerry Hubbard. And now your host and mine, Mr. Barth Gimble.
Wow, thank you. Thanks so much. Thank you. Thank you. You know, folks, every night I come out here and welcome you to the show and tell you what a great show we have lined up for you. And every night I'm telling the God's honest truth, I swear. But tonight, I really mean it. We have Fernwood's own Dunbar sisters back with us again. Huh? How about them? For those of you who aren't aware, those are the three fantastically talented sisters who have trampolined and danced and cheerled their way onto this show, and whose careers I am now personally handling, just trying to navigate them between the sharp rocks of failure. And these young girls are only the tip of the Fernwood talent iceberg, believe me. There's lots more where that came from, even in the Dunbar family itself. And tonight, we're going to see another spoke in the Dunbar Wheel of Fortune. She's going to be making her debut on Rocket to Stardom.
So you want to be famous, your chance has come. Now you're on Rocket to Stardom.
Oh, we're back. Yes, you may be asking yourself, is there no end to the talent in the Dunbar family? Were you asking yourself that, Jim?
No, I wasn't. I was just doing the announcing, then just joined us just during the little jingle there.
Right. You may be asking yourself, is there no end to the talent in the Dunbar family? Well, the answer is yes, there is. And that end is about to perform for us tonight. This is living proof. This is living proof that behind every successful daughter is a mother. And behind every successful mother, really, is an old woman. And here to perform for you, the original Mother Dunbar, Grandmother Dunbar,
Wow.
Lillian Dunbar, and her tuba.
All right.
There's got to be a tuba. There's got to be a tuba in a band. Down with beat and body, and a kick like a hot toddy. There's got to be a tuba in the band. There's got to be a tuba.
Terrific.
Come on over here. Oh, my gosh. We don't have to tell you what a hit you were.
Oh.
This is Bart Kimball.
Glad to know
Happy
you.
to meet you.
Me, I'm Jerry Hubbard.
How do you do,
Pleasure's all
Jerry?
mine.
Here, have a seat.
Ah.
Might want to leave that on. You might need the support. Amazing, Mrs. Dunbar.
I should say that, yeah.
After all these years, you can still really blow that thing. Lots of musicians would have lost their chops by now.
I bet you ever lose your dentures into that thing? You can go on a hunting expedition.
Some
What?
good kind of stick 'em.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is wonderful. They love to be kidded like that.
Be right back after this message.
Well,
Thanks, Hap. You know, whenever we find we have a few minutes to fill, really, what we like to do is sit down and talk a little bit about, and with, really, our Fernwood Tonight family. And right now I'd like to bring over here the musical part of our family, and I think that's handled pretty brilliantly, actually, by, I call him Mr. Music, the one, the only, Happy Time.
I don't mean stop, I mean out!
I guess without you over there leading them, they don't know when to stop or start. It could be a problem like a pilot bailing out of a ship.
Absolutely.
Might be a plot of a good disaster film.
I hate to
You know, Hap,
fire up like that. I couldn't help it.
really, well, I'm sorry. When I introduced you over there, I meant every word that I said. I
Well, it
really
was
did.
just a wonderful introduction. In fact, it was really sweet. I appreciate it. And so do the boys in the band, I think.
Well, I shoot for sweetness every now and then.
You miss
Just meant-
sometimes, but we all do.
I meant to do it. I meant what I said, though. I think you're really the musician's musician. I really think that.
Oh, thank you.
Sometimes that sweetness gives us a little bit of a toothache, too, as a lot of sweets do.
I like to do that.
Not in a bad way, but in a good way. You know, we never know what's enough for us.
That's right.
Jerry, you're really the second banana's second banana.
Hey, okay, thank you, pal. And all right, and you are the middleman's middleman too, because no matter how you look at it, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, you are the number 2 man.
Jerry, I'm never number 2 the way I look at it.
All right, I think you know what I mean.
Yeah, Happy, your music means a great deal to you, doesn't it?
If I had no music, I would have no life.
Woo.
Hey, that's a nice sentiment, yes.
Woo. It goes beyond
Yeah,
nice, I think,
yeah,
Jerry.
yeah.
It's amazing when a person is musical, they can even speak or address a letter or whatever, and it's musical.
right.
Did you hear what he said?
Yes,
I would-
I'd like to have a copy of that, put it up on the wall. That would look nice.
If I didn't have music, I wouldn't have a life. Is that incredible? That
That
just
is
sort of
nice.
nails it
That's
right
nice.
there. Gee. So what you're saying is like music is an extension of your own being, a reaching out through your instrument to bring pleasure to a world that so desperately needs it in these terrible, trying times of oil shortages and liberation of this group and that group and everything just sort of going to the dogs. It really helps, doesn't it?
Yeah. It pays the bills, too.
Yeah. Your band, Happy Kind of the Mirthmakers, just keeps going right up there, you know, right on top. And yet so many other bands, and I'm sure you've seen these here in Fernwood, have just come and then they go. They don't last at all.
No, that's
why
true.
is that?
Well, the other band in town, they were wiped out in a head-on collision with a bus.
That's right. That was quite a tragedy too.
Yes.
For them.
Yeah.
Oh, for them, yes, it was. But it's meant quite a little bit to us, you know. More work and...
Hey, life goes on.
Well, sure, you can figure it this way. One man's misfortune is another man's fortune in this case, and there were only 3 of them, you know. They were professionals like yourself, and I think they'd want it to be this way. I think they'd be the first to wish you the best.
Well,
If
they
could.
It's true. Well, I know their relatives have because, after all, they had me play organ at the funeral. You know that. But we'll take it any way we can. You know?
Well, I think that's a good professional attitude, actually. Tell me, this sudden surge of gigs, did I use that correctly?
Gigs is correct.
It's a musical term, I hope I was right.
A lot of musical terms have kind of caught on going into the vernacular of our language, like gig.
Sure.
Take it from the top. Or what are some of the other musical
I
terms?
use that in the barber shop, but once...
Once too often. often, I think.
Well, sometimes it always doesn't come back. What else? Like way off base.
That's baseball, Jerry.
You're probably right. Technically, way off baseball. It's just an abbreviation. Downbeat. Another musical term.
Hey, what you do backstage is your business. Yeah.
Business is
Hey,
good.
listen, do me a favor. Before you go back over to the bandstand and whatever it is you do, could you say that thing again that you said before that was so beautiful? Just bring that back.
Was that we take what we can get?
No. Well, there was that statement that was almost like a song in itself. You remember that?
Could you kind of tell me? I don't recall what that was. Was it?
Turning the sod?
No, it wasn't that. It was another statement.
Way off base?
No, it wasn't way off
No,
base.
you said that.
Yeah.
There's
I
one
think you
other.
said that.
Killed by a bus?
No, Jerry, it wasn't killed by a bus.
I remember what it was. If I had no music, I would have no life.
There you are. Yes.
You can see how much life I've got.
Yeah, you better hurry back over there and have some music.
Okay.
Happy time, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. You know,
As a fellow who's as talented as he is nice, and as nice as he is talented.
yeah, and he has those quiet moments, too, which
Yeah.
I've really learned to appreciate.
Yeah.
On November 6, 1976, James Earl Carter was elected the 39th President of the United States. The Fernwood Courier carried that story on the front page only days later, and ever since that, the Courier has kept you up to date on the President's activities. What you may not know is that a number of other people have been appearing on shows in magazines simply because they look like President Carter. This is true. Our next guest is not one of those people. He doesn't look anything like President Carter, to be honest. You
There's
know,
a
we
twist.
Yep, but he happens to have the same name as our 39th president. Welcome, please. Who else? Mr. James Earl Carter.
More melody here, huh?
Okay.
Beautifully.
Oh, thank
Doesn't she?
She is quite a good player. Yep. Mr. Carter, some people have been making an awful lot of money by looking like Jimmy Carter, our president. And what, have you been benefiting the same way from having the same name?
Oh, well, as a matter of fact, it's been quite a problem. Well, in the beginning, it was fun. When Mr. Carter was running for the presidency, I got a kick out of all my friends calling me and wishing me good luck in the elections.
I wonder if the other Jimmy Carter gets any of your mail. You think, wouldn't that be a funny twist? Actually, if that happened?
Well, as a matter of fact, I'm sure he must. I haven't received my book of the month since January.
Is that right?
He must be quite literate by now.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. I understand he had 2 books in his library. His library got ransacked the other day by vandals, and 2 books were stolen, the only 2 he had. He wasn't even done coloring in one of them. Well,
Again, where else but in America could you kid like that?
that's true. Hey, Cuba. Any other problems or any other advantages maybe to this mistaken identity?
Boy, I tell you, of course now I'm not the only one getting bugged.
Really?
Yeah, my brother Billy is going through no end of trouble.
No kidding. You got a brother, Billy. Is that irony?
Where does this confusion end, huh?
Have you thought maybe to get around some of this problem of changing your name from Carter?
That's interesting. Yes, as a matter of fact, we discussed the other night taking my wife's maiden name as our name, but
Great. Well, what's her name?
well, we decided against it because well, it's Ray.
James Earl Ray. Okay.
Wouldn't be any confusion there because he's locked away for a
Yeah,
assassination attempt, which should be some comfort to the president, too.
To this gentleman as well,
Yeah,
I think, if
right.
you want to stretch your imagination.
Yeah.
Listen, since we're on the subject of presidents, I do have kind of a special treat.
Besides this?
Yeah, I'd like to share it with you all right after these words.
Whoa, when...
You know, we've had the Dunbar daughters on our program, all 3 of them, performing their unique talents, their own unique talents, and their own special abilities. But they've never appeared together as a group, never until this moment. You know, I've been working with them and guiding their careers, and, well, between the four of us, we've prepared a special production number that we modestly feel could put them in neck-to-neck competition with the Lennon sisters or the King family. Maybe even Dawn. Each of them is a star in their own right, and they're brought together tonight in a concept of mine that, quite seriously, I like to call Abe Lincoln, We Hardly Knew You. 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. No, those aren't my words. No. Thank you anyway. No, they were thought of by another very great American who lived long ago, Mr. Abraham Lincoln. Ahead of his time, maybe? Who can say? He had certain attitudes that I think will always be appreciated, and I think if he were alive today, which I'm sure he isn't, that he would be saying very much the same kind of thing, but he might be saying it in a different way. I think he'd still be what so many people quickly call a hippie with a beard. Sure, that's possible. But I think he would say the same things, and I think he might say them this way. The Gettysburg Address? The Gettysburg Express. You ready? Hit it! On this continent, a new nation, conceived in liberty, yeah. Get down and dedicated to the proposition that all men is created equal. Now come on, created equal, boys, bring it down. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to get y'all to clap your hands, but I know that's kind of hard for a lot of you white people. It's hard to find the beat, isn't it? I know. But we'll show you the beat. If we give you B1, y'all clap your hands, okay? Give me one. All right, pretty good. The Mirth Makers, ladies and gentlemen. I think we better go to 2. We still got some people out there, some dental hygienists and storm window cleaners. They can't find the beat. So give me 2, boys, will you? Woo! Now bring it down. Now, Barth here has read the entire Gettysburg Address, of course. And quite frankly, I think a lot of it is overrated. A lot of it makes no sense whatsoever. Maybe it did back then, but a few words I think still hold true today. And they are these. Of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. That's it, do it with me. Of the people, for the people, by the people, shall not perish from the earth. Good Lord. Get down on the people, for the people, of the people, shall not perish from the earth. I gotta do a little parish here. Hi. I want to thank you for your response to our Abe Lincoln production number. I think it was worth the hours we put into it. Yeah. An hour, or hour and a half, because I know you'll tell. Yeah. I understand, Jerry, you've got some further comments on the subject of presidents, and in the same vein.
Yes, as I was sitting here watching that number and watching the lovely Dunbar girls do their dance, one thought went through my mind. I wonder if you can guess what it is. I'm thinking that...
I'm almost afraid
No,
to.
I bet you know what I'm thinking. Abraham Lincoln is not our only president who is dead. Now, wait a second. Hear me out. There's several others. Many have come to mind. There is Lyndon Johnson, Eisenhower, Harry Truman, Douglas MacArthur, Franklin Roosevelt. All right, I'm going to stop there because I want to make a point. When I think about their death and their dying, I am filled with fear and terror and anger and sadness.
Sure.
And confusion.
Sure.
And kind of a revolt.
Sure.
And an anger.
Sure.
And a frustration. And a confusion. Ticked off. It gnaws at me. Did I say confusion?
Okay, what are you driving
I'm getting
at, Jeff?
confused.
Yeah.
Because these presidents all have one thing in common other than the fact that they are all dead. During the term of their presidency, they all met with the Russian premier. Now, isn't that interesting? Almost a little eerie. What are we dealing with? A little foreign intrigue? I'm not saying yes, I'm not saying no. I don't want to open a can of worms into our platter of spaghetti here, but I just maybe if I point a finger to, maybe if I can raise a couple of eyebrows, it may do some good. Because, all right, maybe we should appoint a blue ribbon committee to investigate, see if there is some connection between the Russian premier and our president's dying. Now, the Russians are getting a little bit too big for their pants lately. They don't want to be satisfied to sit back and buy wheat and beat us at hockey. Beat us big. Beat us badly. I don't know if you're a hockey fan, but they whip our pants off. Right now, I understand they're saying they want to dominate the world. Mm-hmm. And I'm asking you, Mr. and Mrs. Fernwood, isn't it going to be a little bit easier for them to do just that with these presidents gone and dead? I'm saying this. Hear me out. I'm saying this. I'm saying politician down there in Washington, and Lord knows there's enough politicians down there in Washington. It's practically the political capital of the country. If you're listening, get off your duff. Let's investigate this. Let's look into it and see what we can do about our American presidents meeting with these Russian premiers. What goes on in these meetings? Maybe we can put a stop once and for all to our presidents dying. Or at the very least, let's put together a decent hockey team and beat them on the ice, shall we? As an American, I am crushed when I read some of those hockey scores. I didn't mean to get up on the soapbox, but that's how I feel, and I'm sorry. I just feel something should be aired out. The platform is yours.
Isn't it sad? Isn't it sad when cousins marry? That's our show for tonight. See you tomorrow.
Thank you. Good night. Also appearing on tonight's show were Bobby Tremaine as Lillian Dunbar, Rod Gist as James Earl Carter, Robin Foley as Penny Dunbar, Stacy Stephens as Stacy Dunbar, and Kathy McCullen as Debbie Dunbar.
So yeah, we start with Barth just reintroducing us to the concept of the Dunbars, who've made their presence known on this show over the last couple of weeks. And then we have another rocket to stardom, this time with Lillian Dunbar, the apparently elder matron of the Dunbar family, doing a bit of tuba and tap. So that was amusing. We bring her up for a jolly little bit, and then we bring on Happy Kine, who is there to tell us about the meaning of music, or that without music his life would have no meaning, and we dig into that a little bit. Then we bring on James Earl Carter, who is not a Carter look-alike in this case, but a name-alike, someone who shares the name of Jimmy Carter, and that's apparently the whole bit, that James here has had some inconvenience in his life, but also can't quite figure out how to fix it because other options so far have not been so good. And then we have some history appreciation as Barth does a number dedicated to Abraham Lincoln and the Gettysburg Address. And in this case, we're bringing out all three of the Dunbar sisters, Peggy and Stacy and Debbie, although we don't necessarily see them very close up, but it's them. It's the Dunbars. As far as I'm concerned, there are 4 Dunbars in this show, and we do a number which seems sort of James Brown inspired with a bit of soul and funk in it. In this case, we see Debbie with her pom-poms and Stacy, who we'd only previously seen being spanked just a little bit. Well, we'd seen Debbie and Stacy both get some spankings, but now she's doing a dance number, or at least she's doing some bar work. And in the back, Peggy, who we had last seen in the rafters after her trampoline act, is doing some light gymnastics and some skateboard. Some of it was fairly obscured because of where Barth happened to be in the camera. And then we bring it back to the couch. Jerry has some important thoughts on his mind about presidents and what they have in common with Abraham Lincoln, in that many of our presidents are dead. And at this point, Russia seems to have a hand in it, perhaps. This is a pretty hefty claim. I'm not saying there wasn't espionage happening in between the East and the West, as it was known, or the First World and the Second World, as it was called during the Cold War. But, you know, some of the people he named weren't even presidents. In any case, it seems to have set Jerry off that so many of our presidents have died, and the weird, potentially paranoid or conspiracy theory-esque idea that Russia may have had a hand in the deaths of so many of our presidents. That's where our episode ends, and now it's time for us to address the topic of the week, which I brought up in February. This time, the topic is, if there were anyone in Fernwood that you could go out on a date with, who would that be, and what would you do? And today's response comes from Maria Crochet. I'd have to pass on a date with any of these characters, but a girls' night out with Wanda, Loretta, and Kathy would be fun. And Maria, I can see where you're coming from in this, since so many of the characters in Fernwood are quite dysfunctional. Mary and Tom, who were the central relationship of the series, their marriage was hanging on a thread the entire time, and most of the folks there were pretty messed up. Wanda and Kathy together both seem to have a fairly freewheeling approach to sex. Wanda and Kathy both kind of feel like they can sleep with whoever they like, and, you know, that's not wrong. Loretta's a little bit different. Loretta is a little more concerned with her relationship to Charlie, but they could be a fun match, and Loretta and Kathy have spent some time together. Sometimes they're really good friends, and sometimes Kathy gets some judgment from Loretta. On the other hand, Wanda and Loretta, they have sort of an elder statesman kind of appeal to them. They both have a little more adulthood on their sides, though Loretta is pretty close in age to Kathy. I think Wanda would be a lot older than either of the two, so there's lots of different dynamics going on there. I'd be curious to see how they'd interact. I don't feel like I've ever seen them in the same room together. I don't think I've seen a scene with Kathy and Wanda ever. Not sure if I've seen one with Wanda and Loretta. So tell us what you think about that three-way pairing, y'all, because that's definitely intriguing. Everyone, that's all we've got today for today's episode of Fernwood Tonight. We will have another one tomorrow, because that's how we roll. Thank you so much for sticking around. Thank you so much for watching with me, leaving your thoughts, feelings, and impressions down in the comments. And we will see you tomorrow night.